No clickbait, short and concise. This is what you came for. Why do I believe this is one of the, if not the, best preparation for first cycle ever? Let's get started. I've spent 13 years studying, training, diet, calorie counting, and just going to the gym in general. Out of those 13 years, 8 years were consistent. During this period, I doubled my body weight to where I am today, 94 kilos. I've spent 5 years studying PEDs, performance-enhancing drugs, AIs, aromatase inhibitors, and all of its side effects. I also studied all sorts of things about hormones and what to pay attention to. I've been taking blood tests for 5 years and then optimized based off of them. The results of those and what I exactly did, I will cover in another video. A few months ago, I bought a blood pressure meter, which I used and will continue using in order to track my resting heart rate. For now, it's 120/60 to 120/70. For those of you that don't know, those are very healthy levels. I also learned about hair protocol. I've used them in the past year, and it will probably need that knowledge during this cycle again. I also checked my fertility a few times to see if I am fertile, yes or no, because I would like to have children in the future. And if I don't have any swimmers, that's simply not gonna happen. I've also performed a plaque test in order to see if I have clogged arteries, yes or no, which at the age of 31 is very unlikely, and indeed, it's not the case. I also considered freezing my sperm. However, when looking into it, I noticed that it isn't really a viable option at all because the success rate of doing so is very small. And as of now, because I'm very fertile, I don't think I will have many issues with that since I'm planning to have children in the next 2 or so years. I will then perform an ACG only experiment with which I'll try to mimic my natural LH levels in order to preserve my fertility. I will cover this in another video. Make sure to subscribe in order to see what the conclusion of that experiment will be. I will then do 2 months of TRT, testosterone replacement therapy. Granted, I will take a pretty royal dose of 200 milligrams of testosterone enanthate per week. The reason behind that dose is because there's cases of people needing up to 250 milligrams per week just to mimic their natural testosterone levels or peak at about 1,000 nanograms per deciliter. Also, for me, it doesn't matter if my levels will be over 1,000 because I am considering this to simply be a step working towards my cycle. Furthermore, I am simply interested in what levels that dose puts me at and to make sure that in case I experience testosterone fever, which is a phenomenon that some people experience when switching from natural testosterone sources to exogenous-based testosterone sources, which is basically a flu for those that experience it, that takes about 2 to 3 weeks to clear. And since there is no way of telling if I will be one of the people experiencing it, I wanted to make sure that I wouldn't have to deal with that while being on cycle. After 4 weeks on this royal TRT protocol, I will have my testosterone tested. After 8 weeks, I will go for a bigger panel in order to see what my general health is at. And then finally, after all of that pre-work, I will start a low-dose testosterone-only cycle. The dose will be determined based on the blood results that I will get back by then, but it will definitely not be the cookie cutter 500 milligrams per week testosterone cycle with a D-ball kickstart. Throughout the entirety of this cycle, I will be running ACG, human chorionic gonadotropin, in order to keep my fertility where it needs to be in order to be able to have children. Because this is really important to me. And like I said before, this is something I have planned fairly soon. I also have Arimidex on hand, which is an aromatase inhibitor, which I know when to use, how much to use, and whatnot. This is all very important knowledge before you get into your cycle. I have been using extra safety precautions compared to most other people, but this is because I value my health and I want to do this for the long run. I consider this simply the next step, and it's a marathon, not a race. I want to be able to grow old in a healthy way and for me to have more muscle and energy than most other people, but in the most healthy way possible. I have made the commitment to do TRT for the rest of my life. This is something I decided many years ago, and I always expected to run 2, maybe 3 low-dose cycles beforehand and then try to maintain most of it on TRT. I don't want to become too big. I don't want to do crazy cycles. I don't have bodybuilding alerts or whatnot. But TRT alone is not enough to build the physique that I do have in mind, but it is enough to maintain. To follow my journey, I recommend you subscribe to my channel and watch this video next.